Going to be a basic flow of certain techniques that you're going to use all the time, which is grounding your body, attuning your body to different frequencies, strengthening your sensitivity to psychic energy, and practicing trusting your own psychic senses. So, the first thing I have to ask of you is why do you want to improve your psychic senses? Before starting something like this, I think it's very helpful to clarify that for ourselves. So just think about what what reasons would you like to improve your psychic abilities? For me, one of the first things is I always want to know what is the best possible thing that I can do in every situation. Like if I had access to a bigger band of information, I think that I would always make a better choice. And knowing that that information is in fact available to a degree, there is information available to a degree. I want to have the best possible opportunities to tuning into that information. Another thing is, aside from just being able to make better choices in life's everyday situations, like some of the most mundane things, like deciding should be eating meat or should I not be eating meat? I like to be able to tune into my own body and observe my body's signs. So, just this is going a little bit out of the notes that I have taken, but being able to observe our body's signs, it that is a psychic sense. You're sensing the subtle energy of the body. So there's a lot of things that we're already doing that we are using our psychic senses. So let's start with this. Why do you want to improve your psychic senses? And then we're going to, next thing is notice all the ways you already are psychic. So some of these things can be the classic. We don't really have ringing telephones anymore, but one of the classic things is when the telephone rings and you're like, "Oh, that's my grandma." And you already, it's like you just know. Sometimes you just know something. And that is one of the ways that you are psychic. Or if you're going, you're thinking of somebody. This one I find it happens. You're thinking of somebody and you run into them. This happened to me not too long ago that I had just reconnected with one of my old friends, and I was in a part of town that I go to maybe once a month randomly. And we had just met up a week prior. It was the evening time. I usually don't even leave my house in the evening time, if I'm being totally honest. And got in my car to leave that part of town. And as soon as I sat in my car, I see him walking on the sidewalk right by my car. So I get out and I'm like, what are you doing here? Because he doesn't live in that part of town. I don't live in that part of town. And he was just, he was like, whoa, what are you doing here? And it was just this weird moment of like, we were meaning to contact each other. We were like in the middle of text messaging where one of us hadn't responded. And then there we both are. So this is there's different levels of psychic connections. This would be maybe you could put it in the category of telepathic communication. Telepathy is like where it's like our body as a radio receiver and transmitter of energy is tuned to a certain frequency. You can imagine a radio dial. And other people who are tuned to that same frequency will match up. We are on the same vibe. So let's move on. Okay, so we're gonna. Also, get a journal. This is not my journal, but I just happen to use it to write in. Get a journal where you're going to be able to track and write about some of your experiences. And so, the first things you're going to write in this journal, why do I want to improve my psychic senses? And then next, you're going to notice all the way you already are psychic. So just start to stream through like dreams that you get that give you information, or when you we'll get into more of the specific. I feel like there's a lot of things that we do naturally, like say going for food. Like you're at the grocery store and your body is telling you that you need beets, and you usually don't eat beets, but you feel drawn to buying the beets, and you don't really know why, but you follow that nudge. And it turns out that there was something that this happens to me all the time, that I'll be like, had some inkling to start apples, for instance. I suddenly had this crazy craving for apples. And I was eating like 2 apples a day. And then I look into it, like, what is it about apples? And there's something in there that I, in fact, needed for a health concern that I had been having. So, like this, there are many things that you're already doing that are psychic. So, take a little time to write those things down in your journal. The next thing I have here, this comes from a book which I highly recommend. I bought this book in 2000 when I first was in the Navy. So the year 2000, actually, by Sonia Choquette. And the book is called The Psychic Pathway, I believe it's called. I've bought it and given it away so many times, and I've just bought another copy. So what I'm thinking to do is I'll use that book to grab some of the techniques, because I found those to be so helpful when I first started tuning into my psychic abilities back in the year 2000. It is 2025 now, so I've been practicing this stuff. What? For what? Is that 25 years? For a long time. Yes. Wow. So we will follow some of the things in that book, and this is one of the things in this. This is something that I have on a little note card. I couldn't find it. I think it's somewhere in one of my special drawers in the kitchen. But it's a little note card, like an index card, and I've written these words. Open. Right below that open is going to be expect. Right below that is trust. And right below that is act. So we are opening to our psychic senses. We are expecting our psychic senses to give us the information. And we are trusting our psychic senses. And the fourth thing, we are going to act on our psychic impressions that we get. So it's not enough to notice, like, oh, I was just thinking about my friend, and then there he is. I could have just saw him and been like, there he is, and then drove away and told him later that I saw him. But no, I'm open to receiving psychic impressions. I saw him, and I expect to have those psychic impressions. I expect to receive them. I trust them, and I act on them. So I saw him and was like, "Hey," and we took a walk. We walked together down to where he was going. We talked and discussed some things, and it was important. It was an important conversation that we needed to have in person. There was a couple of other odd things that happened during that conversation that were like epiphany moments for me. I guess I can share one of those with you. We were walking on the sidewalk, and another couple was walking toward us on the sidewalk, and I instantly like jumped onto the grass, like off the sidewalk to like get out of the way of this other couple. And my friend, his name is Verdell, he grabbed me like around my waist and he was like, "Girl, you better get back on this sidewalk. They can step around us." And it was this moment of like, wow, I always do that. Like I'm my instinct is to accommodate other people, and this was something that was really big for me and I needed that in that moment. So there was other things that happened that were important, but this was something that I couldn't read or I needed to have that experience. Okay, so now write those words in your journal. Open, expect, trust, and act. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about here, where does psychic information come from? Now, I wrote an article and I will make sure that you get a link to that article. It's on my blog, on my website, anjanisegrist.com, but I'll get that to you. And this is from the Ayurveda, like yogic philosophy about psychic abilities. Because believe it or not, it is a very big thing in yoga. Actually, in yoga, they call it siddhis. Siddhis is when you have purified your subtle mind and your subtle body, and the impressions you will get, the siddhis are like powers. It's basically um, your psychic abilities are turned on, and you can use those. In my teachings that I received when I lived in India, they were like, don't get, what did my teacher say? Do not get flattered by them or like, what's the word? Distracted. He said, don't get distracted by these cities. They come, you get this certain power, but you can easily become distracted by it and it'll take you off your path. So it's a natural thing that happens. And I can attest to how much practice with meditation, the breathing practices, moving my physical body and through, we did a 2 hour yoga practice every single day that had 30 minutes of breathing and then like 90 minutes of slow physical asanas or the yoga postures, and then like a 10 to 15-minute shavasana. So this practice really heightened my awareness of subtle energy, and it definitely brought my psychic abilities to a whole new level, which we can talk about, and maybe we'll get like a live Zoom together with everybody so we can do a Q&A, and I can talk about some of that if you're interested. Okay, so where does this psychic information come from? So the first thing here that I have written down is from the subconscious mind. So if you imagine that your body being a receiver and a transmitter of information, all day long you're smelling things, you're seeing things that you don't even realize you saw. That's how a lot of programming happens because we see things like billboards, we watched a commercial, we overheard some lyrics in a song. We're receiving information all day long, and our body is a receiver and a transmitter of information. So, subconscious mind to me is the body. It is the water in the body, how we are holding information within our cells and within our water, the fluid that we are. And so a lot of information can bubble up from the body or from the subconscious mind. And so sometimes if you just close your eyes and ask a question, you can, I can, I don't, and I don't know if it's because years of practice or what, but when I close my eyes and ask a question, it almost feels like bubbling up to the surface of my awareness. It's like my body will deliver the image to my mind where I can retrieve the image and get the information. Okay, so we have the subconscious mind. And then the next thing I briefly mentioned, telepathic communication. So, back to that radio dial, your body is tuned to a certain frequency. And most likely, unless you've been practicing some form of energy work, Tai Chi, Qigong, Kung Fu, yoga, and I mean yoga in the sense of the with everything involved with the y- traditional yoga, with the meditation, breathing exercises, um, physical postures, and you could even maybe think about some of the other yogic techniques, like the cleansing that you would do with a neti pot. There's so many different things. There's this one that I don't have anymore, but Neti Sutra, where you would stick this little tube up your nose and it would draw around through the other side and you could like floss. It's like flossing your this section of your nose. So there's a lot more to yoga than going into a class and listening to music and moving your body around. So all of those things are tuning our body to be a receiver. So the telepathic connection, we can have this with each other. I experience this a lot with my kids. And I've heard a lot of mothers say that we're sharing DNA. And not only that, I have observed and studied these people their entire life and a little bit before before they made it to the earth. I have been studying these people. So I am very attuned to their channel. And so radio tune. Oh, and so the next one is going to be the superconscious or a higher source. So this level of psychic senses. This one I feel is a little bit more mysterious for me because it's like I can't even say it's sometimes in dreams. Sometimes a lot of times I feel that the dreams are subconscious. It's bubbling up from the body. This higher self, it's kind of like higher source of information. I can think about this like when I stare at Venus, for instance, or I stare at Jupiter and I'm connecting with this planetary force, which is not right here in my body. It's not tuning into a radio channel or tuning into a plant to understand about that plant. It's like tuning into another higher level of consciousness. You can think about this like your higher self or your future self or ascended masters or something like that, or God, or whatever you consider to be a higher power or the creative source that has created you. So that's another layer of where psychic information comes from. And then what did I write here? Tuning. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is spending time tuning in to the inside of our own bodies, to our environments, and just heightening your physical senses first. So if you're tuning into your body, you're noticing how your clothes feel. How does this fabric feel on my body? This thing on my head, it's a little tight. I'm actually not really liking that so much. So you're literally taking it from this level of the physical body because this is where we do everything on earth from this precious, beautiful, wonderful body. So we're going to be taking time during this 21 days to tune in with the physical body. We're going to tune into the environment. So wherever you're sitting, we can just do this right now if you would like to, or just make a note of this, that how you feel. You can think of this like a body scan. I can feel my waistband on my pants, a little snug, not really liking that too much. I feel my ankle because I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor. I can feel my ankle pressure on the floor there. I can feel my knees. I can feel, kind of going through your body like that. Like, just how do you feel in your body? You can even take it into the inner layers of your body. Like, how's my belly? How do my lungs feel when I'm inhaling and exhaling? You can take it to that layer, tuning into the body. And then the next thing is tuning into the environment around you. What do I smell? What do I hear? And my son, my middle son, used to have, he would sit us all down and have us go through these exercises when he was like 5. Before he could even read, he was doing this stuff. Yeah, he's my son. I was pregnant with him while I was practicing all these things. So I don't know how that works, but he would have us sit and listen to, what do you hear? I hear a little buzzing going on. I don't know if this mic is picking that up. There's like a slight buzz in here. And then you would listen a little bit beyond that, a little bit beyond the first sound that you hear. See, and now I can hear something going on outside. It's like a jet going overhead, but far away. It's not right over us yet. So like that, you're listening, you're smelling, you're looking. Like, what do I see around here? And this is something I remember from the book, that Psychic Pathway book, was to look around at what you physically see. And something that she mentioned in that book, if my memory serves me, like, I haven't read that book. Probably the last time I bought it was in 2012. I bought another version. I mean, the same version, but I bought the book again. And I believed in that. She was saying that if there was something that was taking your attention, it was like something, say it was broken or it wasn't working, or it was too cold and the fan was blowing, or there was some dust, that these things are subtly pulling on your awareness. Even though you might not be actively engaged in attending to that thing. And this is something that can help with our psychic abilities, is like attending to those things that need to be fixed. Because once that stuff is fixed, now you have more of your energy to attend to whatever it is that you want to be doing. Okay, the environment. Oh, so tuning into the environment around you. So into the body, and then tuning into using your senses to feel, smell, taste, touch, sense in with what you can with your physical senses. When we fine tune the physical senses, it's easier to expand into the subtle senses. Now, the next thing I have written here is that you are going to trust your experience above anything I say, above anything anybody else says during this 21 days, because now that you've committed to doing this 21 days, your psychic senses are going to be expanding so much. You'll probably get ads on your phone about ways to improve your psychic senses, people teaching courses, books to get. Stay with what we're doing here for this 21 days. Of course, branch out whatever way you want, but I'm encouraging us to stay with this practices, because building a strong foundation will help you to not get hustled. Me and my friend Erica McNeese of Crow and Crown did an episode, which when I release this, I will also release that episode she and I did about ethics with your psychic abilities. And one of the things that we talked about in that video was how many people, when they're opening to their psychic abilities, get swindled. And the reason that it's easy to get swindled is because you basically are turning on this big light within your central channel, or some people call it a pillar of light. Erica calls it like this. Sometimes I call it a Shashumna Nadi. Sometimes I call it a Ba Rod, because different cultures have called this a different thing. But from that central channel, you are opening yourself up to psychic energy. And it's like you're tuning your frequency to this level of information. And then everybody else in the psychic world sees you and they're like, oh, it's a new person. And it's like we can tell you're new. There's certain things people who are new with psychic things do where they're like, oh, it's 222. Or they'll be like, oh, I had this synchronicity. And then that's I'm not making fun of it because I totally did it too. It's a level of being fascinated with your own power. And when you're in that phase, it is so common to get swindled because people can sense your vulnerability and that you're fresh. And so trust your experience and really trust your gut. And this can take time to develop a trust for your own the information that your body is giving you. Okay, so far we're getting ready. We've gotten our psychic journal. Any journal will do. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You can even just get some plain paper, but I prefer some kind of place to keep this so you can continue on after the 21 days. We're going to be doing some somatic practices, could include music. So I'll show you some of the instruments that I have here that are not like playing in a band, but it's music that I can play that is almost like cleaning my auric field or like the vibration of live music of instruments that you're playing. It like makes for me my cells, it's like my body starts to tingle and activate in a new way. So we'll explore some of that, ways to use simple musical instruments to heighten the sensitivity of our physical bodies. We'll use a little meditation techniques, somatic practices, so that we might do some movement. I have some ideas to share, some massage, like self massage techniques to free up spaces in our body where energy can be condensed in areas. And when we bring blood flow and circulation, this energy gets liberated and we have access to more information in our body. And then the other thing, I'm going to ask that you dedicate 20 to 30 minutes every day for 21 days minimum to practicing the techniques we're doing. And okay, so this first week, we're going to be attuning our body as a psychic receiver, grounding, awakening the senses, and developing a sensitivity to energy. So day one is today. We're going over why are we doing this? What is it that we're doing? And tomorrow for day two, we'll do some grounding and centering practices. We're going to do on day three, I have here breath and energy flow. So I'll show you some ways with your body, with your hands, that you can take some time to focus on your breathing. And like I mentioned, with that self massage to help feel where your energy is flowing fast, where is it flowing slower. So we'll do some postural things where we're like tuning in with our posture to see, like, get curious about, oh, I do hold this one shoulder a little higher and like, okay, why am I doing that? What's in there and what's going on, you know? So, breath and energy flow. Day four, I have sensory awakening. So, this will be a little bit with music, a little bit with different smells. So, we're awakening the senses. Day five, I have body pendulum. So this is something really cool. You can always get an external pendulum, but asking questions and seeing how your body responds. And one thing that one of my mentors, Seymour Coblin, showed, he is such a good psychic. He's so good with tuning into the psychic field, but having us like lean forward for yes, lean backward for no, and then noticing when we are faced with a question like, which way does my body, do I pull back or do I lean in? Like there's a subtle flow that happens there. Day 6, we're going to be practicing the energy ball. If you've taken Reiki, level 1 for sure, you have practiced this, but we'll practice with the energy ball and then we'll practice with using that to go over our own bodies, kind of like a little Reiki practice there. And then day 7, we'll do some grounding through physical movement. So let's go ahead. Thank you so much for joining me for day 1. And I look forward to seeing you again on day 2 for our next technique.